I wanted to start something that if it wasn't my restaurant, I would go and eat here often, and I just knew that it's something that I had to create.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Bosses of the Valley. I'm your host Cherie, and today I'll be introducing Dan Homaijani. He is the owner and CEO of UNiQ Burger, located here in Scottsdale, Arizona. Let's get started. Hey Dan, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having us here. I'm super excited. And I'm just going to share a little bit first about how I, kind of found you and why I was interested in, doing an interview with you. I'm a very avid researcher, and I wanted to find a local, business owners, leaders who I feel are making an impact in the community. And you also serving 100% plant-based items I thought was wonderful. We're going to talk about starting the journey. So. Yeah. The first question is, what was the very first step that you took when you were establishing UNiQ Burger?
So this was actually the fun part. I mean, I feel like everyone had some conversation with friends about romanticizing the idea of starting a restaurant. And this was coming up with a name, getting the LLC, looking at places. Just anytime I had some sort of idea on what I wanted the restaurant to be like, I would immediately jot it down, whether it's in a notepad or on my phone. And just basically doing all the research, seeing what it takes, finding out what licenses I need. And so that was pretty much the initial part. I originally was going to start as a pop-up to kind of like see...
just get your foot wet a little bit and see how.
Exactly. And then I jumped the gun. I got excited. So I started ordering like all the things I would need for the pop-up. I was getting like the spatulas and bowls and mixers and all this stuff just because I wanted the idea to feel more real.
Right.
And then after I got the logo was kind of a struggle to get started. I went to different logo design places around here, and it's crazy what some of these places will charge. They were saying like $5,000, $10,000 to just
for a logo?
For a logo design. And I remember actually I took a graphic design class in high school, and they showed me this website called 99 Designs, where you pretty much host a contest for different graphic designers, and the person that you pick to choose your logo, that creates your logo, they get this grand prize. And I basically said exactly what I wanted. I wanted this minimalistic burger look, but I wanted it to be kind of abstract. I wanted UNiQ to be written out a certain way, and this one designer came up with exactly what I was looking for. So we tweaked it together, and then I got that done. And then pretty much it was just searching for the right location.
All right.
And it was a long process. I printed out like t-shirts and hats, gave them to my friends to model to kind of get some sort of content for the page.
Like marketing and stuff out there.
Yeah.
So use your friends.
Yeah. And then I just pretty much asked my friends to follow the account, keep up with the progress. And that was another big step I announced in the vegan Facebook groups, the local like vegan Facebook groups, that I'm opening this concept. Give me a follow, keep up to date with what's going on. And that was pretty much the initial step of getting started.
So what made you decide that you wanted to do a vegan restaurant?
So I just noticed that there's a lack of vegan restaurants in the community. I love all the restaurants here, but I felt that I could create something better. And I want to just go with a simple menu. I feel like going simple, you can perfect everything on there. I don't know how places like Cheesecake Factory have like 300 things on the menu.
This is my new friend.
But yeah, pretty much I was like, if I keep it really simple, people go to some of these other big chains, other big burger places, they're going in, getting burger, fries, a drink. They don't need to overdo it. You don't need to add this elaborate menu. And I was like, I can do a vegan version of that. And it started with just the UNiQ Burger, and then I expanded the menu, and I still wanted to keep it simple. Quality control is very important to me. I know how in certain areas of my life I'm a perfectionist, and I wanted that to translate into this business. So I thought that this is something that's up and coming, and there's a lack of vegan restaurants in the area. There's a big vegan demographic, and I wanted to start something that if it wasn't my restaurant, I would go and eat here often. And I just knew that it's something that I had to create.
All right. I really like that too. And I'm gonna go back to something you said about the Cheesecake Factory. Okay. Now I love to eat at Cheesecake Factory, but I get overwhelmed, very, very overwhelmed, like with the menu. And I'm all about simplicity. So
Yeah.
I said, and that's what I think that a lot of people, we overthink things and then it becomes too complicated. And then our brain is just has all this fog in it. So I think that keeping it simple
Yeah.
can really lead the way. So I'm glad that you said that because I think I was telling you this prior to setting up how I'm an avid researcher, like I said, so I already know what's on your menu before I even come here. And so I'm looking on there and I'm like, oh, this look good. I already tell you, like, and we come to these interviews before the time actually opens. Otherwise, I'd probably be sitting here and having the chicken wrap with the sweet potato fries that I saw on
You're
there.
gonna have to come back and try it. It's really
I'm
good.
definitely gonna come back. So, but I agree with that. Like, just keep it simple, and you can always grow later. Versus I think of having too much and then having to take it down.
Well, the crazy thing is some people still get overwhelmed with this menu. They'll look at it for like 5-10 minutes and don't know what to order. And anytime they ask me for a recommendation, I'm like, I'm terrible at this because I like everything on the menu equally. I didn't put anything on the menu that I'm like, this item isn't as good as this one. I wanted every item you order here to be a good reflection on the brand. Because I've definitely been to restaurants before and I'm like, oh, wasn't that great? And I give it a second chance and I order something else and I'm like, that was amazing. I don't want someone to have their first impression of this place to be like a lesser menu item. So I want everything up there to be just perfect.
Though, so for me, when I was looking at it, the only reason I would probably ask for recommendation is because everything looked good and I can be a bit greedy. So that's why it would be too much for me. I'm like, everything looks good and you can't try everything. So, but no, I think you did amazing. And every time I talk about it, I say it's a unique place, and it's funny because it's like UNiQ Burger. So I think you did awesome. I love to hear that. So one thing that I wanted you to kind of just kind of mention that I thought was pretty cool was you started right out of college, right? And so this was like the first thing you did out of college, and I think that's amazing because how did you just gain that confidence to jump into that?
So it was definitely scary. And this was also, I had a COVID graduation, so it did give me a lot of time to stay inside and think and plan. I knew I wanted to start a business and I didn't know exactly what to do. I mean, a lot of people discouraged me when I said I have the idea of opening a restaurant just because it's a very tough industry to get into. There's a huge rate of restaurants failing within the first year, and it's very tough. But I knew that I wanted to create something different. I wanted to give back to the community in a positive way. I wanted to make some sort of impact in the world. And I think that this exact concept, introducing a lot of people to veganism, because sorry to go on a bit of a tangent, but I swear it's related.
Go on.
Part of the reason why I didn't make the name of this restaurant something that gives away that it's a vegan restaurant is because I don't want to deter non-vegans from eating here. I have the majority of the vegan community eating here because there aren't many vegan options, and I know that this is a great vegan option, but I'm really trying to get the non-vegans in here to try this and be open-minded because most times I have a lot of customers that come in and they're ready to order and they're like, oh, I didn't know this is plant-based. And they say like, no thanks. And as they're walking out, I've convinced so many people to stay and they're like, you know what, I'm hungry. You're making it sound good. And everyone's always blown away. And I love seeing that reaction because this is a person who was gonna go get a burger somewhere else and now they're going with a cruelty-free, sustainable option instead and realize that they like it. And I always tell people too, see how you feel after you're done eating here, because I know before when I would eat at some of these other major burger chains that weren't vegan, I would have a stomach ache, I would feel weighed down like the rest of the day, I'd feel sluggish and tired. One of my best friends comes in here during his work day. He likes coming here for his lunch break because he's like, I can go about my day after eating here and I don't feel exhausted.
Right.
Like, I got to go back to work.
Don't feel heavy.
Yeah. So I just basically thought that this idea is something that everybody needs to experience. We didn't have anything like it out here. Right. And there are such limited vegan restaurants. I wanted something. The crazy thing too, sorry, I was like so many thoughts coming to my head. This area, it's a very populated, nice place to be. And if you're looking at fast casual options, there really aren't many. There's a lot of fine dining, sit downs, but if you want something just quick, good, and not too expensive, you're really limited on options. So I just felt like this is something that this area needed, and I just knew it would speak for itself.
So I always been, when you start a business, like one of the first things you should do is be able to solve a problem. And so is that just kind of the concept that you kept in your head when
Yeah, I would say so. I think that, yeah.
the limited options, like with the, vegan, the meals and, this area. So I think that's great. Like you already started off on a really great foot. So, and like I said, I think I could really appreciate hearing that coming straight out of college. Like you can still do good things. You just have to really believe in yourself and, keep going. So, and now you're here with your restaurant. So that's awesome. What are some of the biggest risks that you took early, in the early days of your business when starting? Is there anything that was?
Honestly, just starting this business in general was a giant risk. It takes a lot to get started. It took me 2.5 years from having the idea of opening this restaurant to actually opening my doors. I thought when I first had the idea, I was going into this with little to no knowledge about the food service industry. And I was giving just all these false grand opening dates. I was like, oh, it's gonna be fall of this year. Oh, it's gonna be open in spring. And I didn't realize how many moving parts there were. And so yeah, there's a huge risk with wasting time if it doesn't go through fruition, a huge risk with money. And just, everything was kind of like they say, I don't think that this statistic is proven, but someone says 90% of restaurants fail within their first year. I think that they said the number is more like 60 in the first year. And then of the remaining 40%, like 80% of those restaurants fail within 5 years. So it's a very risky business to get into. And I've seen so many other restaurants fail after not being open very long. Some places that have awesome food, great service. It's just, there's all these different things that can affect how it performs. So yeah, and there are actually many vegan restaurants in the area that I love that closed down over the past couple of years. So it's not like vegan food is as big of a market as non-vegan food. I'm sure if this place wasn't vegan and it was a similar taste, I'm sure more people would come in, but that's not what I'm going for here. I wanted to do something different.
Yeah, be unique.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that. So I am going to go back to something that I meant to follow up on, but I want to ask, but how did you push through, being discouraged when everyone was saying like, don't do it? How did you say, no, I am going to do it?
So the biggest advice I got from a lot of people, so many people were excited when I told them about this idea, but the more logical people would tell me, don't open a restaurant. You don't know what you're getting into. It's not a good idea. And honestly, I don't want to say they're wrong. I'm so happy I did this. Everything is going very well. I have zero regrets. But anytime someone I've had friends that have told me like, oh, I'm thinking about opening a restaurant, and I kind of have to bite my tongue because I don't want to tell them, you don't know what you're in for. This is a lot. People would tell me that all the time, and I was like, oh, I know that it's going to be a lot of work, it's going to be exhausting, but you never really know that until you experience it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to discourage people because it would be awesome for other people to do something similar.
Right.
But
it's a lot of work. It's not easy.
It's a lot.
It's not easy.
It's a lot.
So there you go. Like it's just not easy. And I know things can seem glamorized. It can seem easy, but you have to put in a lot of work.
Oh, so I don't really think I answered the question exactly. But anytime I have something in my mind, I'm kind of determined. I need to get whatever I want done. And when I had this idea, there's no convincing me otherwise. I'm like, I have this all planned out. This is gonna work. This exactly. And I didn't go take baby steps. I kind of just went all in with the brick and mortar, and because I knew if I did a pop-up or a food truck, the end result or the end goal would be this. Right. And that was definitely a major risk, but I'm happy I did it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like you got to be happy with your choices and your decision. So another question I want to ask is, how do you handle setbacks, just with dealing with the business or even in the initial stages? So
I'm a very anxious person, and I honestly don't work well under pressure, and this seems like the worst field for me to get into. It was very difficult to find a location. That took me a long time, but I wasn't too invested in the business then. And once I got this location, they give you some months of free rent. They give you some months to do your construction. And then everything took a lot longer than I thought it would. I actually had this location and had to pay rent for 3 months before being open, which was driving me crazy. I was so anxious to open it, but I was like, I don't want to jump the gun and just open before I'm ready to be open. And once I finally opened, I mean, the bank balance was going down. I needed to budget right, and I needed to figure everything out. And I was short-staffed. I didn't know how to kind of make everything work as a like well-oiled machine. It was just very difficult. But once you're in it, you're in it. So you just kind of have no choice but move forward. So as much as I wanted to just like pull my hair out, I just had to just keep my head up and just figure a way through it.
Okay. So did you always know that you wanted to be in the Scottsdale area, or?
So the end goal is I do want to open more locations, but I was like, the first one I wanted to be in Scottsdale. I just feel like the demographic here works really well for a vegan restaurant. I think that there's a high population of vegans in this area. It's crazy because we don't have many vegan options in the area. There's vegan options at every restaurant, but it's like 1 or 2 items on the menu, and it's not always necessarily the best. I wanted a place that anyone that's vegan can come in and comfortably eat, and non-vegans would enjoy too. I just knew that this would be a good area. I wanted to be in the Old Town area, but rent was way too high at every place I looked at. And also, it's so hard for a landlord to lease their place to someone who has no experience, is just out of college. Like, that just sounds like a recipe for disaster. I'm so happy I found this location. Because I'm right off the 101. I'm in between Old Town and the ASU campus in Tempe. And it's just a good hub because I have people from Chandler and Mesa that come up here, people from the West Valley, people from North Scottsdale. Yeah. It's a good location for everyone around to be able to access easily.
Did you face any financial struggles early on? And if you did, like, just kind of how did you push through that?
Yeah, so I got a tenant improvement allowance. If you're leasing a place, a lot of times the tenant will give you money to do some renovations because it brings value to the property that they own. And realistically, the amount that sounded like a lot, it basically only covered putting the commercial hood in. And then all these renovations had to be done. And it just was definitely, it took a lot of money to get this started. And as I said before, I was losing money when I first got started, and I started to panic because I was like, I need to do something. And after a couple months of being open, that did a complete 180, and I went on the right path. And I've managed to pay off most of my debt, and things are starting to look good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I even compared the trends of this year compared to the first year that I was open, and everything is on upward trend. So I was very scared when I first got started, but things are looking up, and I do eventually want to expand, but of course, when I'm ready.
Great. No, that's awesome. You said you took the risk, and like that can be scary because we don't know where we're going to end up or how.
Terrifying.
But that's what happens when you own a business, right? Because you don't know. So how did you, like, who did you go through for funding, like for your business?
So it's almost impossible for me to get an SBA loan. It's they're not going to give it to someone with no experience. I got a loan from my dad, but that was not an easy sell either. He knew how high risk of an industry this is, and at first he was a little against the idea. I convinced him, and he had so much faith that this is something, I'm onto something big, and he started getting excited with me. And of course, there were stages that he got a little, yeah. So
wait a minute.
Yeah, it was nearly impossible for me to get anywhere, so this
That's
worked out well.
That's realistic too, like you said. So, because that can be a challenge and setback for other people out there. They think it's that easy. So
yeah, no, I think that's why a lot of people start smaller, and I definitely did look into starting smaller. But even food trucks, ghost kitchens, all that stuff, there's still a lot of issues that you're going to deal with, and the biggest pain of opening a brick and mortar is honestly just how much it costs. But overall, everything else is easier by having an actual establishment. So I was like, I do want to skip that. I know that this idea is good. As long as I manage this place well and execute the idea, I know everything else is going to be fantastic. luckily that all worked out. There were moments of hesitation, but as I said before, I've already paid off most of my debt, and
That's amazing.
yeah, I'm so happy it worked out.
That's also got to feel like just a good weight off your shoulders. You don't have to worry about that. So, and you can just keep, focusing on the business and growing it further. So
yeah, I've been nervous at many points, but
Yeah, I
I'm
bet.
happy. I'm happy I'm here.
you got to bet on yourself. You got to bet on
Yeah.
yourself. All right. So we're going to kind of, well, I know we've been kind of mixing and matching. So talking about strategic growth. So one of the questions I have is just what strategies did you use to build a successful business?
So when I first launched, I originally had the idea that I wanted to have this gigantic grand opening, and I wanted to line out the door, a DJ, all my friends and family. And I realized that is very stupid. So I did a soft launch. I just told basically some friends and family to come in throughout the day. And then I started posting, hey, we're open, we're in the soft launch period. And that was smart because everyone needed to figure out what they're doing in the kitchen. And it was like, there was a lot of stuff I needed to improve on. If I had a line out the door the first day, they would it would have just been a catastrophe back there. So I realized that I had to start off slow and then just gradually build and build. So I didn't do much marketing. I would, as I said before, I would post in the vegan community on Facebook and just let the kind of word of mouth
Right.
grow the business. And then I saw this gradual growth, and I also didn't want to spend money on marketing because I already had so many expenses. The bank account was going lower. And eventually the word kept spreading and it got busier and busier. And then I finally just started marketing for the first time recently. And I'm honestly a little nervous about that too, because I don't want this to be like, there are times that I'm like, I can't handle more business than this right now. Of course, that's not all the time. I wish it was spread out evenly. It'll be on like Friday, Saturday nights, and I'll have to turn off online ordering because like, I don't want the food to be coming out too late, and it just, I wish I had a bigger kitchen, honestly.
Well, you don't know. You don't know what the future is going to hold. So
Yeah.
So I wanted to go back on that as well, and you brought that up. So that's perfect as far as the marketing, because I know, earlier you said your friends, they would kind of wear like, some of the gear to promote. But I don't know why, but I really enjoy hearing that, because I feel like when I see everyone starting businesses these days, it's pushed, and I get it. Like, you have to really push marketing, you have to whatever, but sometimes it doesn't work that way for everyone. And I feel like that will hold someone back if they're like, I can't do all this marketing.
That's if you know what you're doing. I went into this not knowing what I'm doing. This was my first day owning and operating a restaurant. And yeah, if I had like decades of experience under my belt, sure, I would maybe go with a grand opening. I would have enough people here. I would make sure everything. I was learning as I went on. If you actually look at some of the early pictures on some of these review websites of the food here, I thought that it looked like unreal. And I made all these improvements on ingredients and the way that we were presenting the food. And if you look at the pictures now, it's like night and day. I'm like, I can't even believe the food looked like that when I thought that looked like
amazing.
Yeah. So.
All right, I like that though. Like I said, I don't know, like I just like just hearing like how authentic and real you are about that. Like just being honest about it. And like I said, even the marketing, like you didn't put focus on too much marketing because you're still trying to learn the business.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay, so it's all about timing. I'm gonna go into the food part though. So how did you craft your menu? I don't know why I'm always interested in that part. Maybe it's because I like food, but like, what made you say like, these are the items I'm going to put on the menu? Like, how did you?
So originally, like I came up with the UNiQ Burger. I wanted to make a classic burger sauce. I just followed some recipes online and tweaked them, and that kind of gave me an idea of what I wanted. And then I made the original burger. When I tried it, I was blown away with how good it tasted. I immediately packed up the burgers and I called every friend in the area. I was like, you need to try this. I wanted them to taste test it and see what they had to say. And everybody loved it, and that kind of just pushed me. And yeah, then I was like, I want some variations of the burgers. I remember, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago, I had a burger that had grilled pineapple on it, and I was like, that was so good. I want to put one on the menu that has grilled pineapple, teriyaki. It's just something you don't see everywhere. And then I was like, I need a spicy burger. And I was like, I don't want to overdo it. So, and the thing that's easy, It is a really simple menu. The biggest difference between some of the items are just the toppings, and they completely give different flavor profiles. So I have 3 burgers, 3 vegan chicken sandwiches. Now I added a chicken wrap, vegan chicken wrap.
That's my first thing to try. So,
and we were just a part of Vegan Restaurant Week, and I came up with this chopped cheese, and it's kind of like I say it's like a Philly cheesesteak meets a burger, and it is so good. I'm permanently adding that to the menu, but there's so many things that just turn out good, and I want to add it, but I want to keep the menu simple. So I'm thinking about maybe doing seasonal.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
See, look at that. I was like, seasonal changes. So I really like hearing the ideas and how hands-on you are, from the beginning, and you're testing out these different things to say, like, this is it. So I think that makes it that more like personable for your restaurant.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so I know that you were kind of, touching on just the different things that you're trying with the food, but I was going to say, how do you stay, innovative in a world where there are other restaurants that, vegan restaurants?
Yeah, so I think this is an American classic. Burgers and fries are like, people have been eating that for so long, and I think that this is just such a quality burger. The fries I'm getting from this company, Freet Street, they have award-winning fries, and they're the best fries I've ever had. These burgers are the best burgers I've ever had. I think, yes, things are developing. There's going to be changes that are made. If there are advancements in different ingredients or different products that I'm using, of course, I'm just going to adapt to whatever comes out. But realistically, even if I didn't change a thing here, I think in 50 years, this food would still be tasting good. I don't know how far advancements in vegan food are going to go, but I know that this is just something that everybody loves, and UNiQ has become kind of a staple in the community.
So what advice do you have to prioritize urgent tasks? So if you feel like there's multiple things going on, how do you say this is the one task that I'm going to focus on and not be overwhelmed by everything else? So
it's kind of tough sometimes if I have to problem solve when the restaurant's busy or if I'm understaffed. Delegating tasks is very important. I have a phenomenal staff. Everyone that works here is so great, and they work well under pressure, and that kind of helps me because I'm not so great at working under pressure. But in the early stages, I was very understaffed. Like a lot of people have this idea when you open a restaurant how involved you are. You have to be super involved. I didn't think I was going to be doing much cooking. I was cooking a lot in the early stages of the restaurant being open. There was this one night that it was me and one guy cooking, and it was the busiest night ever. We have an entire screen full of orders. I'm panicking because I have all this stuff on the grill, and I haven't even sent out the first order. People are waiting, and I just wanted to sit in the corner and get in the fetal position. I was like, I have no idea what to do. But realistically, you just apologize to people for the wait. I was giving free stuff out to people. I want to keep everyone happy. They understand that this is a new concept and we don't have everything fully worked out yet. And it was easy to panic, but you just have to keep going. Something funny, actually, I noticed one of the names on the screen. This guy reached out to me on Instagram saying that he was excited to have a new vegan restaurant in the community. It's the founder of Raw Rolling Papers.
Oh, really?
And I was like, I'm so excited to meet this guy. That's the first time I saw that he was coming to the restaurant. And I was like, when he's here, I have to introduce myself. I am panicking. I have all this food on the grill. I don't know what I'm doing. And then I went out and I introduced myself to him, and he was like, hey, is it cool if I give you a shout out? And I was like, I would love that. And he's taking a video to post on Instagram. And I'm just in the back of my head, I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do after this, but I'm taking the time to get on this video right now. But yeah, I've gotten better over time, but yeah, you just gotta keep moving forward. You don't really have any other option when things are kind of overwhelming.
You said something that's important though, like me as a customer, and then this is speaking for customers with patience. So, which is understandable if some people don't have patience, but if you're, a new business and you're, getting established and we're coming in here and it's getting hectic and we're waiting, the most important thing I believe that you can do is acknowledgement. And so just acknowledge the customer. And it sounds like you already had that in your mind. So
A lot of people are very understanding. I have a good relationship with many of my customers. I have a lot of regulars, and anytime there's any issue, I'm always someone to make it right. If anything, if someone thinks the fries are too salty or whatever, I'll bring them new fries. If they're not even satisfied with their order and they want to try something else, I'll give them something else. I want everyone to have a memorable experience. I'm always one to make things right. Especially if I'm at fault,
Yes. And so that brings me to another question. I love this. You're just like flowing me to these questions. So I did notice, like when I was doing my research and being nosy, that you have, a 5-star rating. Like you have really good reviews. And I actually like to go in and read. Now I do this even if I'm getting ready to go and eat somewhere. I'm like, I want to read the reviews. Yeah. And so I'm reading them, and it just sounds like you have really good, like, customer, like their experience is overall. So how do you get your staff on board? Like how do you find the right staff and get them to be dedicated to the business?
So that is honestly one of the biggest struggles. Finding good employees or finding competent employees is very difficult. I've had postings online, like on Indeed, and I'll have over 150 applicants, and I'll bring people in, and someone might look good on paper saying they have all this experience, and then by the time they get on the grill, it's like they've never cooked in their life, and it's very tough. I'm very grateful for the people I have now, and I treat my employees very well. I do anything I can to keep them because the turnover rate is so fast in the restaurant industry. Some people will come work for you for a month or two and then go to a different job. Not a lot of people stay long, so I create this workplace environment that I want everyone to enjoy coming to work. Okay. You spend most of your waking moments at your job. So I actually had this friend that gave me this advice before I opened. He was like, you have to establish a line that you're the employer, they're the employee. You can't be friendly with them. That's when you start to get taken advantage of. And I was like, realistically, that's not my personality. That might be good advice if I'm building some sort of if I'm in some other field. This isn't Hell's Kitchen. I'm not Gordon Ramsay. This is a vegan burger spot, and I want everyone to feel comfortable coming to work. I like to joke with my employees. I like to. You want to have fun here. I don't want people to feel uncomfortable that they're going to work, doing a job, going home. So yeah, finding good employees is tough. I actually just lost one of my employees. He's moving to Tucson, and it's a hurdle. This guy was excellent, and I'm sad to see him go, but I'm excited for him. He's going on a new chapter of his life.
So with the hiring, of the staff, and people are leaving or going other places, is that one of the priorities that you have to keep a priority?
Yeah. So I've learned being complacent is just so dangerous. I'll be like, everything's working out so well. I have the schedule figured out. I have so many good employees. And the next day someone's like, hey, sorry, I can't work anymore. The commute is too tough, or I'm moving, or this and that. And then all of a sudden it's like my world turns upside down again. I'm like, how am I gonna find a good employee in time? And the thing is, I can't overstaff here either. I don't have big enough of a place to have an extra person or two on payroll. So when I do lose someone, that's normally when I sub in and I'm the one going in cooking. And that's very dangerous, because if an employee is sick, then we're really understaffed here. And yeah, it's very tough.
So, okay, this is just something I probably want to know, that maybe if you're starting a restaurant, this is for anyone out there that wants to start a restaurant, how do you know that sweet spot of like how many people to hire? Like, how do you start to plan that out?
It depends what kind of restaurant it is, the size of the restaurant. So when I started, I would have basically 2 people cooking at all times. And on the busy nights, I would have 3. Now I kind of need 3 people back there at all times. The thing that's tough, I could use more. I don't have enough space back there. So there was a time this past weekend that we got really busy, and we were thinking about turning off online ordering, and I hate doing that. I don't like turning down business. It's not a enjoyable thing to do.
Yeah.
But if I had a much bigger griddle, if I had more fryers, if I had more space back there, 3 people is three people take up a lot of space there. A fourth person would honestly get in the way. So yeah, that's why I think eventually when I do expand, I need to have another location not too far from this one, because I need another location to kind of steal a little business from this one, because I think that this is kind of on a path that I might have times that it's there's a little too much business to handle.
Well, the good thing is though, like when you start out, I guess like reasonable, you can always expand versus if it's too much and then it's a little harder to kind of go backwards.
Payroll can actually be one of the things that destroys a business. It's the biggest expense. So if you overhire, it can really screw you up. Okay. So I definitely do. I like to have an extra person, even if it's slow, just in case if things did pick up. I still want everything to go out the way it should, but I feel like a lot of places overhire, and it can just really hurt you.
All right, so we're going to jump into just some, advice for the entrepreneurs. Is there any advice that you would give someone who is starting that either they're not confident, they don't know where to begin, just a confidence builder, or just something positive, to keep them going?
One quote I like is, "You can only fail if you don't try." So honestly, go for it. If you hit a hurdle that you don't know how to move forward, talk to someone that's in the field. There's always something you can do. I feel like when I was discouraged, I should have gone to different restaurants and just saying, "Hey, is there any way I can get in contact with the owner and just get some advice?" These are little things that you might feel uncomfortable to do or awkward to do, but if it's going to help you in the long run, don't just feel discouraged and give up. Nothing in life is easy. There's nothing that's going to come easy. You might see people on the internet make it seem like there's a shortcut, but it's going to take a lot of effort. Do the little steps that you can do to just stay on the right path, and don't give up. If you have something you believe in, you should really try to go for it.
All right. So one of the other questions, well, I actually have a couple more questions, but a long-term vision. So how do you set long-term goals, and what is your strategy for just kind of making sure that you're on track with them?
So my long-term goal is I want to open other locations throughout the Valley and eventually franchise throughout the whole US. That's long term. I've learned that if I do want to franchise my restaurant, I need to privately own multiple locations in different areas, so the proof of concept shows that it'll work in a different area. Like, this could be really successful right here, but if someone wants to open a franchise, they need to know that, oh, there's another location in Gilbert that does really well, another location in Phoenix that does really well. That is the long-term goal. But something I've learned, because I had this plan within the first year. After the first year is over, I'm going to look into getting another location and then expanding. And I think that a fatal error that a lot of people make is moving too quickly. You see your business is doing well and you're like, okay, let me make it bigger. I want to max out this place, and not just profitability. I want to max out efficiency. I want to make sure that everything, quality control stays the same. Even if it gets busy, I want to make this place the best it could possibly be before I think about moving on to another place. I could go and start another UNiQ Burger, and then I could be short-staffed over here, or there could be a plumbing issue, or you never know what can happen. And then I can't be at two places at once. I mean, already here, I do think the next step here would be having a general manager besides myself working here. But I want to get this restaurant to the next step because as I said before, payroll is a very big expense. I feel like when that happens, this place would be not an autopilot, but it would be running a little bit more smoothly when I don't need to watch everything like a hawk. Right. So once I get to that point, then I could probably think about expanding, but I definitely want to do it when I'm ready, because I don't want both places to just collapse.
That's great that you're really pacing yourself though, because that's how you want to stay successful.
Everyone wants to jump the gun,
Yes. So, and with reason, we get it. Everyone's excited about it, but I think you're just being realistic, and you just have a strategy. You're following it. And so how do you make sure that you are staying on track with those goals?
I'm just keeping up with the reputation. I'm making sure all the food is coming out exactly the way that it's pictured. Guests are satisfied, the place is clean, customer service is great, the food comes out quick. I just want consistency.
Sounds like my kind of place. Sorry.
But yeah, as you said, you saw the reviews. I just want everyone to have a memorable experience here. And as long as that continues, the place is just going to grow and grow. And I just got to make sure that I'm doing my part too. So yeah, then I can think about expanding.
So how do you handle, I have to ask this question, but how do you handle like the demands of, being busy with your business and in your personal life?
So I already knew that going into this industry, I'm going to have to kind of push my social life aside. And I was like, I'm at that age. I don't care about going out every night and having fun, that it's not going to advance me in life. I was like, I would rather dedicate this time to building up my business and building up my future. And then hopefully one day I'll be able to relax and I'll have all this already in motion.
This run for you.
Yeah.
So that's what you mentioned earlier when you were saying that you're hands-on right now. And I think that we had a conversation earlier where most people think, because I know things can be glamorized, that you own a business and you don't have to be there.
Oh yeah, no, I have friends, one of my friends told this other friend, why is Dan always there? He's seeming more like an employee than an owner. People think that you have an amazing concept and you get it into motion and then it just runs and you don't need it, like, it's on its own.
Right.
Yeah, that's the furthest thing from the truth. It's a lot of work. If you look away from the business for a second, things can just crumble. And yeah, I wish it was like that. I know eventually it could be like that, but once you get systems in place and you have multiple locations and regional managers or general managers, kitchen managers, then it could get like that. But also, I'm just getting my foot in the door.
And you're still, and that's the thing too, is like you said, you're very hands-on with your business. So just put the work in and the rewards will come down the line.
But yeah, no, I realized a lot of times I have bad FOMO. If there's a concert or friends going out or doing a lake day or something, I do wish I could go do that, but I realize that this is important to prioritize. And as I've gotten deeper and deeper into the business, I don't miss going out and doing these things as much. I still do dedicate time to see my family, see my friends, and I need my sanity.
Yeah.
I can't just be all work. So I still manage to get out and do things, but I realize that I can't do the majority of things I want to do, and that's okay because this is more important in the long run.
Yeah, and you'll get through those things and you'll be able to enjoy it. So I think it's awesome. So I do have to ask my favorite question. What is your favorite thing on the whole entire menu?
As I said before, I don't have a favorite thing. Whenever I'm making myself something to eat, I cycle through the burgers. I can't pick one. Everyone always asks for a recommendation. I'll tell you what the fan favorites are though. I would say the Southwest Burger and the UNiQ Burger are the biggest sellers. But what I tell everyone, I'm like, that shouldn't discredit the Paradise Burger. Not everyone wants grilled pineapple and teriyaki on their burgers. So
probably the same people that don't like pineapple on their pizza.
Exactly. That's what I always say.
So with the UNiQ Burger, is that the classic? Like, is that the signature burger?
Yeah, that's just the classic lettuce, tomato, onions, pickles.
Is that the famous sauce that you came up with?
Yeah.
All right.
They're all excellent.
Actually open. I'm gonna have to try the UNiQ Burger. So that'll probably be my first choice. So Cool. All right. Well, that is all the time that we have today. So thank you so much for just inviting us into your establishment.
Of course. Thank you for your time.
Yes, it was like absolutely. I had a really good time learning it. I think it's a wonderful, space, and I really do wish you much success with it. And I hope that if you are out there and you are looking for, ready to start a business, in a restaurant industry, that you've taken some notes and understand that it's not going to all be a cakewalk in the park, but hopefully that someone out there has been inspired today. So that's all we have for you for today. So until next time, thank you.